I tell you, it's another wild week in professional wrestling as there's so much to think about that's already happened this week and to come. Let's go ahead and briefly talk about it. Hello, everybody. Welcome once again to another ATW Spotlight, the mostly all week edition, but I'll give you a bit of insight towards other stuff too. My name is Noah Foster, and I'm just a simple man, a lifelong fan of professional wrestling, giving you his brief review, recap, insights, thoughts in all things wrestling too, primarily AEW, New Japan Pro Wrestling, and NWA. With that being said, this is being recorded 10:21 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Tuesday night, August 17th. And with that being said, I want to first start off by acknowledging the New Japan Pro Wrestling's Super Junior Tag League, as we've had quite a interesting series of events, as it seemed that Roppongi 3K, Sho and Yo, the former three-time consecutive Junior Tag League champions, basically zeroed out here and were officially eliminated. They just took on the actual tag team champions a couple of days ago. And of course, Taiji Ishimori and El Desperado, I believe. And basically, no, excuse me, Bosh, former enemies that they took on in finals that they'd beaten. El Desperado and Yoshinobu Kamaro, former IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Champions. And they got the better of them. And it's come to the point now where I always thought Sho was on the cusp of breaking out beyond this division or on his own. And it seems like now pretty much it's done and done. He assaulted his brother. These guys have been together now, it seems, for nearly a decade through Rocky Romero and through Chaos and through Junior Tag League Wrestling and through it all. But Sho had enough. And since they lost out, he literally took out his friend, his parade, whatever you want to call it, with a shock arrow and declared backstage, according to what I read earlier, that Yo is of use to him no more. So pretty much Sho is on his own. Yo is done. Roppongi 3K, RIP. A very sovereign moment, if you ask me, considering how much these guys really took Junior Tag Team Wrestling, I thought, Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Wrestling very far. But all good things must come to an end and change has to occur. And sometimes you gotta be in this business for yourself if you really want to push yourself beyond the proverbial glass ceiling. And in New Japan Pro Wrestling, if Shingo is any proof, you definitely can do that. So I gotta wonder now, what does this mean for Sho and the future of him in Chaos? Will Yo and Sho have a fallout in a singles feud? Could Sho be moving on to a different faction maybe? Only time will tell. But talk about an interesting set of developments, especially with G1 Climax 31 around the corner this fall. And currently, folks, nobody is known to be in G1 Climax 31, but stay tuned. I will have, of course, a full preview and night by night simple takes on the entire series too. In other news, we go into the end of the Super Junior Tag League that finally concluded, that basically came down to the champions, Taiji Ishimori and El Phantasmo, taking on the former champions themselves, El Desperado and Yoshinobu Kamaro, in their own right. And it turned out, because this was the last match, no other tiebreakers could be made, with a score of 8. It was my boys in Suzuki-gun that came out victorious and won their first ever Super Junior Tag League, and now wish to challenge the champions for, of course, the titles, which they literally have that obligation to. Question is where and when, we'll have to see. With the Grand Slam event coming up, though that could still be in the air with the events of the world, you wonder if that will happen maybe at MetLife Stadium or Dome, excuse me, botch, or will it happen maybe during a different tour? We're going to have to wait and see. But congratulations to El Desperado, the former IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion, and his partner, the heel master, Yoshinobu Kamaro, 21 years plus in the game, folks, pulling out the win against Taiji Ishimori and El Phantasmo. Low blows, shenanigans, allegations, cheap tricks aside, they could not outsmart my boys in Suzuki-gun. For those that don't know New Japan Pro Wrestling, it's truly a battleground of faction warfare. Pick your faction and go along with it. For most people, I know it's Bullet Club. Whether or not it's this inception or a previous generation, I know several people are Bullet Club for life. But as a true New Japan Pro Wrestling fan at heart, for me, my heart's always been with Suzuki-gun and all hail Dangerous Tekkers, who still hold the IWGP Heavyweight Tag Team Championships. But I digress. And if you want further details regarding my thoughts and outlooks and simple takes on stuff like the recent NJ Resurgence event, please check out the last ATW View Impromptu, where this and so much more was discussed. Now, with that being known, let's go into the reason that we're here, shall we? And that is simply because I am #all elite. as I bring you now my simple takes on all elite wrestling. As of course, we look towards what happened Monday night with AEW Dark Elevation. Very stacked card it was with several newcomers and returns. Now, again, with these shows, you consider the squash format, so always the wrestlers win. Well, that might be the case, but you wonder if the people they face, these young, promising prospects, what they bring to the table, do they surprise you? And what does your current time you support in AEW bring to the table as well? How are they changing their outlook towards you? Whether you've already been a fan, still a fan, are they like growing their arsenal, etc.? As you can see by this graphic here, it's split out a little bit, but you get the consensus. There were several very interesting matches, and I just like to give you my brief thoughts on a few. First off, as Diamante continues to not be all elite, but continues to roll, she pulled out an aggressive win here against Julia Hart that showed strong spirit, and a couple of interesting moves to her offense with, I like to pick up a scorpion kick, both to the front and back of Diamante. Diamante, of course, showing off that flat splash that I love. In the end, Diamante used a chain wrap fist to get the win against Miss Hart here. And following this, went for further insult to injury until Swole came out. I feel inevitably Big Swole and Diamante is going to happen again. And who knows, it might be the match that determines if Diamante becomes all elite. Personally, in my opinion, I think she should be. But we're going to have to wait and see when this book, I keep saying book it for Rampage. That's how good I think this women's feud is. And this rematch could be too. Diamante, Big Swole, keep kicking each other's asses. Moving on from there, the bad boy who turned his partner, Sonny Kiss, took on a very game Allen 5 Angels and was only due to a hand of tights in a bunch of counter wrestling towards the end of a very physical affair. Brutal laliatos galore and some innovative offense from Allen Angels using the ropes. Joey's, the bad boy Jordan was able to pick out the win here, of course. And no Sonny Kiss, so we'll see how far this new attitude for the bad boy, truly gone heel for the first in AEW. We'll see how far it takes him. And of course, Lance Archer, he had his fun, really literally destroying briefly this young Reggie fellow here. And literally, it was a right hand, it was a helicopter, it was Lance being in the crowd, and literally bringing out his opponent by force for the bell ring. And of course, Lance Archer hits the blackout. I'm pretty sure Reggie still doesn't know what the hell happened to him. I always find Murder Hawk time fun, don't you? Moving on from there, Brian Cage, he took on a Joey Keys. Local wrestler from the area. And this was a okay match here, but of course, Brian Cage, it was drill claw and it was over. Of course, Brian Cage right now taking on a face format. I'm very curious when he and Ricky Starks will confront each other over that FTW championship or just over the principles of Team Taz, since Brian Cage started with them now, former friends, now his enemies. Whereas Lee, we'll have to wait and see. 2.0 really have renewed themselves, it seems here, not just for their YouTube show, but for their showings on AEW, as they took on the duo here of Davis and Jones. Got a nice win for show 2.0 for the show. And I must say, whether you agree or disagree with them, as you know, a wrestling act here and being put forward, they are engaging, they get themselves opportunities, and overall, I think they're pretty entertaining characters. Effective tag team to a degree too when they get themselves serious past all the shenanigans. So a good win for 2.0. Serpentico with loopers from his corner took on a very game a very rare singles action, as we haven't seen Sammy in singles action since his incredible classic against one MJF. And there was some great back and forth offense here. Serpentico trying to take the advantage, it seemed, at times, of his tag partner, Lufer. Lufer literally trying to call moves from ringside, including a headbutt. But again, nobody wins in a headbutt unless maybe you're Mikey Ethel. And even then, I think that's, pushing the boundaries a little bit. But in the end, Sonny Guevara got the GTH and the 1, 2, 3 to get the win ahead of his match with Son Spears. But not the final statement or spot of momentum, as the chairman came out and exacted literally what he's about. Agony by the steel weapon, as he does a running DVD to Sammy on the steel chair and suddenly sits down in like euphoria state, staring down his opponent, thinking that little assault he did was a perfect 10. Will it be a perfect 10 this Wednesday when the two go one-on-one? We'll have to wait and see. Moving on from there, Anthony Bowens now in singles action with a brand new Fiend. He tried to bring some strong offense against a very angry, relentless bastard in, of course, Pac with Death Triangle, of course, also in his corner. For the early going, Bowens was basically Pac's kicking box for the most part. But I do like the fact as the match went on, Bowens was able to get her some advantage, demonstrate some pretty strong offense here with a couple of falls, not even 2 counts though. In the end, though, it was Pac who literally set up this man dead to rights in the ring after a fury of kicks and strikes for the Black Arrow. But didn't give us that, as of course he is the bastard. He's not going to give the fans what they want or expect. He turns it immediately to a brutalizer and holds it for an extended period of time as Anthony Bowens immediately taps out. As of course we are in the inevitable course to AEW All Out, where Pac will face El Idolo. And that, my friends, could be a match that could steal the show. But again, we'll have to wait and see. I'm just checking some stuff here. Sorry. Moving on from there, we go into more women's action as the J brand was back, but this time to demonstrate what the J brand is about in the ring, as she shortly took on the local prospect here, Miss Arquette. Yes, you heard me right, Miss Arquette. And honestly, Miss Arquette barely got anything in. It comes to Jade matches, they are really short, and it's like the opponent, I think, tries to do something, but never really gets out of the gates to try and do something. As literally a couple of new moves by Jade into the corner. Interesting wheelbarrow suplex, not into the turnbuckle, into the ropes. Nasty rebound whiplash effect. As KT Arquette was basically hit with a pump handle, tilt-a-whirl slam, and then jaded. And then it was over. As Jade Cargill continues to prove why she is that bitch. Simple as that. As we continue women's action, this was a very good match, I thought, as Ray Lynn took on Thunder Rosa. And this was a very good back and forth, more so mat-based match. Both of these women, of course, having a mixed martial arts background to a degree. As we kept moving forward through this match, we were basically going counter for counter. Both were jockeying for position, trying to really, what's the word I'm looking for? Hold down their adversary in place. And then it moved to a striking game. But once Thunder Rosa got Ray Lynn in the corner and pulled out those double knees, the running basement drop kick, he basically set Ray Lynn for ultimate end. Good showing and attitude, but shortly a Thunder driver was all she wrote. And that's very it. But I wouldn't mind seeing more of Ray Lynn. And I feel like this match was founded mutually on respect too when it first began, as Ray Lynn had eyes locked on Thunder Rosa. And Thunder Rosa, of course, being one of the best pro fighters, keyword fighters, not wrestler. I understand that, in the world. Very good match, and I hope to see more of Ray Lynn going forward. Before we get into our main event, there was one other match that really impressed me on this show, and that was Kiera Hogan making her AEW Dark Elevation debut under this brand of AEW to take on, of course, everyone's favorite Hikaru Shida. This was a very game back and forth match, and I expected a lot of attitude for both of these, but when you try to basically jaw jack Shida, she's just gonna jack you basically in the jaw. Ouch. With that being said, there was some good near fall spots here exchanged between both after one missed roundhouse kick, and then the follow-up, I think she caught it with the left. I thought Kiera Hogan actually had Shida for the win here, and then another really nice running basement drop kick. The speed and the attitude behind that, of course. Damn, Kiera. I thought she had Shida here too. And Shida, of course, she counters back, tries to go for the katana a couple of times, but it gets blocked. Eventually, she sets up Hikaru Shida in the corner and gets better with the shote and a stiff right at one point, picking out Kiera and just paintbrushing her. Again, if you try and sass with Hikaru, you're not going to win. Following this, there was a swinging front chance for Hikaru Shida, showing how dynamic and how strong she could be, until she finally set her up for the Falcon Arrow, Falcon Driver, however you want to call it. It does done the deal, and Hikaru Shida gets the win here in a very good match. I really hope to see more of Kiera Hogan going forward. I know she has very promising, I would say, what's the word I'm looking for? Potential, yes. Promising potential as a singles competitor wherever she goes. I'm surprised she just escaped from the undead realm, to be honest with you. But I digress. Good match, which leads us to the main event, as you felt the vibe and showcased Cyril Fear, maybe both, one or the other, as TH2, representing HFO. I'm, of course, talking about Angelico and Jack Evans taking on the Lucha Brothers, Penta and Rey Fenix, who, of course, come up with an incredible win back at Triple Mania this past weekend. successfully defending their AAA tag team championships. This was an incredible back and forth match. I look at some of my notes here as it starts off with Ray Phoenix and Helga literally trying to, I think, out-rubber each other. Both men going for momentum as Bryce Rensburg, that is his real name, rung the bell, and there was some high-flying, hard-hitting action to kick us off. And literally these two going jockey, move for move. And then we get, I like to think, the more boisterous two in the ring as Penta and Jack Evans came into play here and basically tried to, I think, out-talk each other first and then outstrike each other. Of course, with the wild break dancing, unorthodox offense of Jack Evans, the TH2 was able to garner some momentum trying to isolate Penta, but it didn't work. As the match kept going forward, there was some insane stuff, including Ray Phoenix at one point walking the ropes like air into the drop kick. How the hell is that possible? You are a freak of nature, Ray Phoenix. My gosh, this guy. The things he can do on the ropes, bloody freaking insane. Anyway, sorry. It's just when Ray Phoenix wrestles, I'm just blown away with the freaking ability that this guy has. And as we move forward, of course, the Lucha Brothers, they do finally get the double stomp package power driver in order, and the cover. Ray Phoenix flies to take out the other adversary out at ringside, and Penta pins and gets the win, and the Lucha Brothers remain undefeated. You gotta wonder with All Out around the corner and teams like the Varsity Blondes, and another team we'll talk about shortly, Jurassic Express, will the Lucha Brothers find themselves in the near future again facing for the AEW Tag Team Championships? And will it be against the Young Bucks? Hopefully it's not as wild as that ladder match was back at the first All Out, because that was bloody insane. But again, the Lucha Brothers, they remain undefeated since coming back together, as Eddie Kingston, of course, on commentary during these times, was cheering on his best friend from ringside. But one more thing. Get that man some pyro. That's all I got to say about that. But overall, I always enjoy Dark because when I think about the name Dark Elevation, you see who signed and non-signed shows you something different. I'm sure some people recognize several of these names from the independent scene, and some of these names are first time ever. In my opinion, when I look at outside the AEW signature, it's always the Amante that continues to impress me. Kiera Hogan, I already knew what potential she has from Impact Wrestling, and I thought Raylene and Thunder Rosa had a very good, calculated, technical match. As far as other takeaways here, again, main event TH2 Lucha Brothers knocked it out of the ballpark. Again, the freaking, give me Ray Phoenix and Angelico one-on-one for something, man. Those two could probably give you a 30-minute classic. Imagine an Iron Man match with Ray Phoenix. You really slow him down. And of course, Pac has nothing but Aligolo in his eyes. And overall, I just enjoyed this show once again. And again, if you want a simple showcase of professional wrestling, check this out on YouTube. Not gonna cost you anything. Speaking of not costing you anything, you gotta respect the series that basically started what became Dark Elevation in its own right. And of course, I am referring to AEWDARK, which of course I just got done watching. A very stellar, dynamic, once again, fun showcase of professional wrestling. It had its moments, it had its squashes quicker than you could say, oh my goodness. And then it had a couple of matches that I thought really were great takeaways here. As of course, we have the Independents, AEW, and even NWA and Power represented, as I will briefly talk about, because that was one of my key matches, as you look at this graphic here. Let's go ahead and talk about what we saw then tonight, shall we? And again, I started AEW Dark late because work, but I'm crazy. And I watch wrestling 6 days a week. So, of course, I watched the whole thing when I came home tonight. So 2-0 rules as they kicked off the night as they took on Sam Adams and Skylar Andrews. I must say that at one point, Sam Adams, though, he had some pretty good offense going into this, as it looked like they were having a moment. But again, when 2-0 gets serious, they do actually show you some pretty good tag team wrestling. Good combination with the double stomp, and in the end, they set up the finisher off the ropes called the 2 for the show, and 2.0 continues to roll. Victory for them and heading ahead of the Texas Tornado tag team match we'll talk about shortly, too. As we move on from there, one of my all-time favorites, she smiles and shimmies, she kicks ass, Ty Conti, took on the Rebecca Scott. This is the first time seeing Rebecca Scott. I like the attitude she demonstrated here, but literally, when you try to jaw jack Ty, you're only setting yourself up for trouble. Ty Conti showing how flexible she can be, but also how dynamic her offense is as she masters all sorts of different crafts every day to be a better all-around pro wrestler. At one point, literally with just lifting, knee strikes, holding her adversary off to the side. Ouch. And it seems like she was having fun maintaining control as she brought her to her other side and literally just wailed into her chest. Yes, you heard me right. Then following that, Rebecca with some attitude, though, as she finally just whipped Tai Conti down to the mat and tried to jaw jack her. Well, not a wise move. Tai grabs the hands, a few of those judo throws, and we see how strong Tai is, but also how very flexible her body can be, shifting her momentum with a beautiful gut buster out of the tilt-a-whirl. And then following that, it was pretty much all Tai from here. Standard combination. I still believe she has the stiffest pump kick in AEW. Literally takes Rebecca Scott into a new time zone. And then the 7 to the DD and Tai kind of continues to roll on and gets the win. And I'm sure it dances with Aubrey as we saw the replay. Always impressive, always growing, continues to move forward. And again, this women's division is stacked with so many potential #1 contenders on the rise coming after Dr. Britt Baker, DMD. Who will she face it all out? Who will be her next title defense? We'll have to wait and see. But a good match nonetheless. Moving on from there, we look at 2 future prospects as well, and they're all right as Big Shy Lee and Brock Anderson with, ironically, Arn Anderson in the corner. They were in tag team action, taking on Joey Keys and Spencer Slade as Thunder Rosa brought her wrestling insight to the commentary, as she also helps with the Spanish commentary too. Great to see her with Taz and Excalibur. Following this was a pretty short showing. Good combinational offense though in the end with a thrust kick and DDT combination. Brock, nice DDT. And Big Shy Lee and Brock Anderson, they get the win. There wasn't much more to say here as we can test the ideas of tag team wrestling in AEW. And I feel like with Brock, he could probably make something big with these two, considering Cody probably is out indefinitely. I didn't see a play card tonight, but chances are the more he watches his son and Lee Johnson in action, he probably will start having a play card too. Moving on from there, we go into Matt Hardy with Private Party, HFO, taking on Willa Yuta with Chucky D in his corner. And Willa Yuta got his own music too, so you see how far he's moving forward in AEW. Anyway, great back and forth action here. Of course, Matt Hardy feeling also confident, tries to go for the Twist of Fate a couple of times, gets countered. Willa Yuta with some nice roll-ups, very good near fall into the rollover into the almost a reverse matchbook cover. And then literally at one point, he counters Matt Hardy's finisher again into a nice takeover jackknife cover. I thought he nearly got the win here. But Matt Hardy, being the resourceful scumbag for such leech that he is, he was able, of course, to get the win out here as he basically fainted that he screwed up his ankle, which allowed Private Party to try and come in and distract, which they did enough, which allowed the ref to be distracted for Matt to literally use, honestly, who uses a boot? As literally Matt Hardy used his boot in the head of Willa Yuta and picks up the cheap win, knocking him out cold. As he, of course, still faced the idea, but the ref's like, hey, wait, why's your boot off? Why is it right there? And I think the ref kind of did, but again, ref decisions final, they don't see it. It didn't happen as far as they know, as far as rest books go, blah, blah, blah. I felt like karma finally hit Matt Hardy in the ass, though, as he tries to do some jumping jacks and does. And we clearly see he's fine, and Private Party going for further assault. It was Chucky T who tries to play difference maker. He does for a moment, but the real difference maker was Orange Cassidy, who really came in with more momentum in his step and drops Big Money Matt with an orange punch. Down goes Matt. KO as Private Party carries him off. I don't know about you, but I feel like inevitably we're going to have Matt Hardy versus Orange Cassidy one-on-one. It wouldn't surprise me if it's at All Out, as of right now. Only one match officially known for All Out, and we'll talk about that shortly. Moving on from there, we go into women's action. Yes, folks, I have brief notes on my phone. It's the only way I can truly remember all of this. You see how many matches there were. We go into women's action as the super bad girl, Penelope Ford, takes on Masha Slamovic, representing Empower, straight from Russia. I wonder how she would fare against legit Layla Hurst. He does a tag partner. And this is the first time I saw Masha in action, but I gotta admit, in the early going, she had some good, strong, stiff offense. It's fun. The Rosa putting her on commentary because apparently they had a 25-minute banger. I'm gonna have to definitely find that somewhere. And she's also been a huge supporter of Mission Pro Wrestling as well, which of course Thunder Rosa, Colin King, and many of our other favorites in AEW and beyond have of course been wrestling through too. Go check out Mission Pro Wrestling. As we go forward here, though, there was a nice up kick, very clever. You don't normally see that by Marsha as she rolls through Penelope Ford and just literally kicks her up in her chin. And you kind of noticed that Ford was favoring her John Chin during this match. But then Ford, she basically takes over here and starts assaulting the midsection of Masha. And literally at one point goes for a moonsault. She got a little high there. It almost like she inadvertently turned into a headbutt. So I guess she made the spot safer for herself and her opponent, but I almost thought her agility almost took her too far. When I look at some of these wrestlers, I almost wonder, do they realize the capabilities of their athleticism? Just saying. And then a nice half and half into a bridge, though, for a nice near fall, follow up by Miss Masha. Again, very good showing, by the way, I must say. Until Penelope Ford made her pay, getting her up on the shoulders, literally elevating her and then dropping her hard for a ridiculous gut buster, thus furthering softening the midsection that ultimately set up for what Ford has been using lately, a beautiful, and man, the arc behind it, the flexibility of her, good God almighty. Brutal submission, Indian deadlock, reverse last chancery or front chancery, or last chancery, whatever you want to call it. Call it super bad submission, as it immediately causes the tap to give Penelope Ford the win. But she wasn't done there. She went for further insult to injury, and then Thunder Rosa, like a bat out of hell, taking off her shoes, literally runs down to the ring and runs Ford off. But again, Thunder Rosa has great respect for Masha and felt that Ford was out of line. Feels like we might get Penelope Ford versus Thunder Rosa in the near future. I wouldn't mind that match personally. Again, these are two women to watch in the AEW women's division as far as going after the doctor. Watch the rankings, folks. They actually do somewhat matter. They've been doing better by the rankings too, in my opinion, but I digress. Speaking of further women's action and rankings, we go to the undefeated Galaxy's greatest alien. Apologies, I am tired. As Chris Statlander in gear shinier, and apparently has brought track jackets, interstellar like tap jackets for all the best friends, Yuta, Orange Cassidy, and Chuck Taylor. I almost thought they were just her crew working on her spaceship. Anyway, Chris Statlander took on a very game once again, Kiera Hogan. Coming in here, Chris Statlander, of course, is 15-0 and ranked number 2. And literally, I'm just thinking, looking at all these women, Penelope Ford, Thunder Rosa, Ty Conti, we might have a ridiculous 4-way no one contenders match in our hands. Again, seeing how AEW handles the division. But as far as this match goes, at one point, literally Kiera Hogan trying to get the better of Chris Statlander from a strength standpoint, didn't work. And eventually, Chris orbits her and gives her the boop. And I'm like, hey, she got the boop. And apparently, Kiera Hogan didn't like that and basically tried to assault Chris. Got some good offense in with the running basement duck in the corner, probably one of her most effective moves. Until Chris Statlander demonstrated her strength, holding her for, oh man, what was it? 16 seconds? Someone had a stopwatch, right? Vertical suspended suplex. I thought she was never going to put her down. Finally does, the hard way. But kudos to the tenacity and the resistance of Kiera Hogan, kicking out of that and still trying to fight back. Again, she snaps up a couple of strong kicks, has Chris in a ball position, but just not enough to hold down the alien. As she goes for a couple of other big moves, Chris demonstrates her strength, literally catching her, and at one point raising her up in like chair position, face buster to the mat, and then of course sets up for, you guessed it, the Big Bang Theory. Yet to be disproven, as it once again gives Chris Statlander the win, 16-0. And again, Chris Statlander is shining brighter than the stars, or her gear at this point, I would say. And this was a very good competitive match. And as always, what do the best friends do? They got to give the people what they want. As of course, the four came together in the ring. Trent, get well soon. Kiera, keep fighting. I like what you're bringing here. I hope to see more of her involved in AEW. And that's all I got to say about that. Okay, this was a little weird. Trios action here as Cole Carter with Serpentico, yes, you heard me right, Serpentico and Lufer, they took on Death Triangle with very irate Boston Pac, which definitely was further shown here when El Igolo came out to the ramp area, not ringside area, to just get a watch on Distracted Pac at one point where we thought Cole Carter was going to get the win. He almost stole it. And that just further infuriated the bastard, as of course he exacted his brutal offense. And literally, the writing was on the wall at this point. It was even more on point when literally Lufer took Serpentico and says, "You're ugly! You're ugly!" and refusing to, like, let him tag his buddy. It's almost like Chaos Project, well, Lufer anyway, did not want anything to do with this guy. I could definitely tell. And of course, he basically got the short end of the stick here as he literally got a 3-on-1 assault. As of course, the bastard Pac cannot wait to get his hands on Andrade at AEW out. And of course, they get the win. It's as simple as that. Death Triangle continues to roll. The Pac, he has his target set. Poor Cole Carter. Not much more to say here. This is just furthering the ire that is Pac and just continuing that anticipation towards ultimately illegal Andrade taking on I would say Pac. Now, whether or not Death Triangle actually doesn't betray Angle at this point, or we get like an Iguodala's faction under Andrade, or he finally brings in his own backup, we'll have to wait and see. But I like the intensity that's definitely being put into here. Of course, and illegal will be in tranquilo, and Pac can barely contain himself. Just saying. Moving on from there. Jeez. I gotta say, sometimes though, with these matches, I mean, AEW definitely has a record of shortest matches ever, it seems. Poor Tina San Antonio. Couple of moves and then a beast bomb, and that is all she wrote. She took on the beast, native beast, Nyla Rose with Vicky in her corner. And then my ears were about to bleed as Vicky came out to say, excuse me, a number of times after that, trying to quiet Britsburg that refused to shut up. Don't blame them. But she basically says, good things come to those who wait. I thought at one point Vicky was going to blow out a freaking vocal cord. And I guess we'll see what this all means. It looks like basically Vicky is just reinforcing the idea. Nyla had her chance at the title. It won't be her last. And eventually she will have that title again. There might be more truth to that statement than we want to believe. I guess we'll have to wait and see. Moving on from there. Join the Dark Order. Dark Order in trios action as Alex Reynolds and John Silver, Johnny Hungy. Of course, I'm talking about numbers 3 and 4. And their partner number 10, Preston Vance. They took on the trio of Bill Collier, Andrew Powell, and RSP. In the early going, it was Alex demonstrating his speed. And there's still, I feel like, that subtle disconnect within the Dark Order when it comes to them as one regarding, of course, their connection with the Hangman and respecting him going on his own, including not helping him when he's at a time of need, such a case that I was assaulted a few weeks ago by the Super Elite. Anyway, as this matchup moved forward, at one point it was Bill Collier that played difference maker, getting the better of Alex on the apron, but it was all for naught when John Silver came in the ring with that explosive, ridiculous offense. And then literally it was a Dark Order showcase from there. We've had kicks, we had lariats and the suplexes from the near fall, not really the near fall, but basically a set of the finisher. The explosiveness, speed, intensity, power, and cohesion, all this in one big, giant, perfect trios combination, it seems. Seamless it was, this entire, I guess you would call it a super move almost from this trio. As again, the Dark Order feels like the most effective, on point faction with the most flexibility to date, in my opinion, in professional wrestling. As of course, John Silver and Alex finally sets up their adversary for Preston to lock in the full Nelson, quick, immediate tap out, ragdoll, pass out, whatever you want to call it. Great freaking trios win for the Dark Order. As again, they continue to roll in the ring, but how are they all mentally? I feel like BTE isn't even showing everything that truly is going through the Dark Order's minds. And then I also wonder if Anna Jay comes back. How could the dynamic of the entire Dark Order change? What's her fault in all this too? Anna Jay get well soon. Anyway, great stuff. And as always, I appreciate the Dark Order for what they bring to the ring. Character and athleticism-wise. Going the Dark Order. Good stuff. As we move on from there, this was just freaking fun. Finally, and on behalf of Allie, yay Allie, hey, Cutler got killed. The young boy took on the elite hunter, Franklin Kazarian, who went mental on him, and Nakazawa to a degree. I was just waiting for him to take a laptop. I guess Nakazawa didn't come out with it. Bash over Nakazawa's head, cheap Dell product. Anyway, as this match basically was mostly Kazarian literally unleashing his rebellious aggression with that massive chip on his shoulder. Ridiculous layers at one point. I probably took the man's head off, and literally I felt like he was going to need cold spray. Cutler did. Regarding this match, as Nakazawa tried to play difference maker a number of times here, he ended up getting the barricade, he ended up getting a right for his troubles, and as they try to use the cold spray to their advantage, it didn't work. It seemed like it just stalled out, and then all of a sudden, cold spray to Cutler's face, and immediately Kazarian trapped in the chicken wing, and that's all she wrote. I kind of wish that the punishment didn't stop, but I digress. And also, Brandon Cutler dancing those moves into the elbows. You showboated and you're out of style and I feel like you're out of this freaking era with what you did. That was extremely foolish. Keep practicing, young boy. This was fun to watch, though, as I always appreciate Vic Kazarian for the wrestler that he is. And I love this just attitude that he demonstrates now. Not just, hunting me super elite, but just what he always brings to the ring. It's almost like he's never truly like satisfied or happy. He's never content. And I really like that. All right. Well, anyway, this was fun. And that brings us, of course, to our main event, which, of course, included Taz scatting and singing and karaokeing. And I'm not doing that for you folks here tonight because I'm tired. Sorry. Jungle Live, the Tarzan Boy music. Of course, I'm talking about the theme of Jurassic Express. As Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus with partners Varsity Blondes, New Deer, Griff Garrison, and Brian Pillman Jr. with Julia Hart, they took on the Wingmen. And what in the hell were they wearing? I felt like JD Drake was literally a bouncer or like a henchman or someone that served drinks at the bar. But I still know he's great. I know he can fight. And it looked like freaking Cesar Benoit was coming back from a spa day. And of course, Ryan Naylor has the signing jacket, and Peter Avalon has the bathrobe, thinking he's Rick Rude. No, you're not. I will say this, though. The Ringmen, at one point, they did try and demonstrate how good they are as a unit of communication, where they try to isolate everybody and go for a fall by Peter Avalon, who, of course, thought he had the win here at one point, and then his eyes just butt up beyond belief that he kicked out. And next thing you know, eventually Griff Garrison gets the hot tag to Luchasaurus. And this was after, of course, Brian Pillman demonstrated hip-hop stance a little early, and Jungle Boy's dynamic agility as well, literally kicking off this match in an incredible way. JD Drake, of course, demonstrating his agility with that ridiculous cannonball in the corner. But once Luchasaurus came in, it was all pretty much over. And literally, there was the tail whip. And apologies if I screwed that up on Twitter. I think I said tap whip, botch. And all that's set up for was a choke slam and then a basically turnovers. Ryan Namath was the legal guy. And Jungle Boy snared him into the snare trap where Ryan Namath tapped out immediately. And the five stood tall as, of course, Julia Hart was hoisted on Luchasaurus' shoulders. Jungle Boy was hosted on Varsity Blonde's shoulders. And you got to wonder if Varsity Blondes and Jurassic Express on a collision course one day to challenge each other maybe for a tag team contendership, maybe based on the events even tomorrow, if Jurassic Express wins. We'll have to wait and see. But this was a fun 8-man tag match. And by the way, one more subtle thing I didn't notice from commentary talking about here, my mind just got blown. The apron is not the hardest part of the ring. The ring post is? Huh? I kind of can understand that, but I mean, they're just like solid steel, right? I mean, if one's a hollow steel, then maybe the one that's just like full-on steel, or the shape like the rod versus the square. I'm curious about that statement more than anything else right now. And it almost makes me wonder now, okay, what's more effective? Driving your opponent into the turnbuckle or ring post, or driving your opponent on the apron? I would think driving your opponent on the apron would be more effective because you can get more of the body to contact that. But I digress. Sorry, folks, I'm going on a little bit of a tangent. Anyway, moving on from there, we go into our main event as the guy that I think don't even know sometimes how high he can fly. Dante Martin taking on, Tiger Style in Lee Moriarty, a very promising, exciting young prospect of the independent scene. And literally at one point, I felt like that Dante Martin was really going to fly over his opponent. I think at one point, I thought he almost missed a move. But Lee Moriarty really showed how dynamic he was at one point, literally going into what felt like a crucifix to a match cover, rolling off extra momentum while it was being counted. I thought, honestly, Lee Moriarty could have pulled off the upset here. This match could have gone either way. And here's how really good Dante Martin is. How often do you see a match won with a simple sunset flip that's not counted or escaped because the people do not have like the legs or the arms or don't have it like fully tight? It was literally with Dante's agility at the end. He went over his opponent while he was standing and then literally traps them into a sunset flip. Unbelievable. And the extra momentum apparently was enough to clinch Lee Moriarty in with the legs over the shoulders, and Dante Martin gets the win simply with a sunset flip. He did not go, well, I guess he still went to the air, but he didn't go high risk in this case. And I gotta say, this was actually a really brilliant finish. Well done. With that being said, that basically concludes the brief summary of AEW Dark, another fun 12-match showcase here tonight. And I gotta say, as far as those that came in and you think were like your dark horses, but could potentially maybe get the win. Lee Moriarty, Kiera Hogan, I thought definitely demonstrated a lot here. Masha, definitely, I want to see more of her. I want to see her face legit later, Hirsch. And Rebecca Scott, I've kind of noticed lately when it comes to opponents of Tai Kanji on these platforms, several of them do demonstrate some strong attitude. A couple of them have actually demonstrated some pretty good striking game against her too. I felt Rebecca more so tried to be the one that felt like she was in control versus take control, and that might have been her downfall. And of course, the ones that always impressed me to see on any platform, Tai Kanji, Chris Statlander, Dark Order, Death Triangle, they never fail. And of course, Kazarian. And the Kazarian being a singles competitor now, anytime Kazarian's in a match, it's always a must-see for me. So some good fun stuff as we talked about Dark and Dark Elevation. But now we go into our main event, of course, as tomorrow, it's Wednesday. And you know what that means. I'm, of course, talking about AEW Dynamite. That's right. The hottest, wild, most unpredictable 2 hours of professional wrestling television every week on TNT. And tomorrow night will be no different as you see 4 matches before you. And I'm sure more will be announced because we don't even have a women's contest here. But with the newly signed Jamie Hayter, it wouldn't surprise me if it was maybe her debut match tomorrow night on AEW Dynamite. So as MJF now takes on Chris Jericho, as Chris Jericho made it through the 4 labors, is on the final labor. Can he finally claim victory over MJF? MJF tries to stat the deck, taking out the one thing he thinks truly defines Jericho: Judas, effect, and Fiend. So the audience cannot leverage that momentum of motivation to Jericho to the ring, and Jericho cannot use the finisher. Judas effect wasn't always Jericho's only finisher, though, and at the king of innovation, in my opinion, I feel Jericho definitely is going to have a new trick up his sleeve, or maybe even an old one. Walls of Jericho is still a pretty effective move. Versus the Salt of the Earth, which I know Jericho probably is not coming to this 100%, and that left arm is still prone. You gotta wonder how this is gonna play out. Does MJF finally eat a loss in this saga of the Pinnacle versus Chris Jericho, where in last time Chris Jericho's singles action, he has yet to pin this man? Do we finally see MJF eat a loss, or does the 400K punch come into play here in the Pinnacle and the Inner Circle as well? Have to wait and see. Also, Darby Allin and Sting will be in tag team match. Texas Tornado Tag taking on 2.0. That basically been jaw-jacking and messing with these two ever since that trios match, where, of course, they had Daniel Garcia in 2.0's corner. And, of course, we had, Darby Allin, John Moxley, and Eddie Kingston. And 2.0 gets distracted by Sting. It feels like 2.0 here is trying to send a message to Sting, maybe similar to what the Men of the Year are trying to do. But ultimately, I'm not going against Darby Allin here because he awaits the best in the world to answer his call to Friday night. But again, I think that's going to be a fun tag team match. I'm curious how 2.0 handles taking on, the icon, their childhood hero, Sting. And of course, we also have Shawn Spears taking on Simi Guevara, who I know won't be at 100%, but he also apparently has a major announcement. So I got to imagine Simi's got to get the win here. The announcement's probably going to follow suit. Or in defeat, will he still tell us something that moves him forward? Because again, wins and losses matter. As the chairman looks to basically exact revenge and end Sammy, it seems. Chair or no chair. This should be a very competitive, aggressive match, as these two have been butting heads since I don't know when. But I'm looking forward to it. And of course, absolutely known right now is the main event, I imagine. That's the AEW Tag Team Championships, where the Young Bucks will defend the titles against the Raz Express. It wouldn't surprise me if Cutler and Don Callis are in their corner, maybe Good Brothers too. As Raz Express once again goes after the championship gold and have yet to obtain it too, the Young Bucks finally lose some momentum for the Super Elite after Kenny Omega dropped the Impact title. I don't know, but I think this is going to be a very good match. I mean, they can't rip off Luchasaurus' face like they did rip off one of the Lucha Brothers masks last time they were in the ring together. But I'm very curious to see how far this goes, considering Jungle Boy's already faced Kenny Omega for the AEW World Championship in a failing effort. So this should be a good match. We'll have to wait and see. And those are the only matches known, but also coming is Dan Lambert. So get ready for the pro wrestling industry to be lambasted again by this man, who apparently is not coming alone. And it's going to be a very interesting, dedicated segment this coming week on AEW Dynamite, literally tomorrow night, less than 24 hours from now. So we'll see what Lambert has to say. We'll see if Lance confronts him again and blackout him. I really hope he does. Although I am super curious, though, are we setting up Lance for something really big here, like a really big fight, since he dropped the IWGP US title to Hiroshi Tanahashi? We're going to have to wait and see. And that's all that's known. I'm curious what other things might happen now in the women's division. I'm curious if QT Marshall will have an answer regarding Paul White and what he did to the factory last week and probably threatens to do to QT Marshall? And also, will we finally hear from Cody or more from Malachi Black? We'll have to wait and see. And also, will we get something towards AEW Rampage this Friday, the first dance? No card known. But again, it's less distraction and more action. Definitely mostly electrifying hour of pro wrestling every Friday, next to New Japan Strong, which I heavily watched too. Looking forward to Leo Rush versus Tom Lawler. But that's really all I gotta say for now. So thank you again for tuning in to the simple ATW Spotlight, all elite mostly. But of course, stay tuned for more content to come, including preview and predictions of Impact Plus's emergence once the card is known, as this show takes place Friday as well. We also, of course, have coming up, I believe it is this weekend, SummerSlam and NXT TakeOver. Check out the NoDQ Guys panel I did, as well as the stuff I did with NoDQ.com. But also this Friday, what the hell is going to happen here? Do we finally see the best in the world in an arena of over 16,000 people in the mecca of pro wrestling in this nation? In my opinion, Chicago. We're going to have to wait and see. And of course, stay tuned next week where, whoopsie, botch. I hope to be with the Jeff Meacham Network to talk to him, preview, and maybe even commentate and watch along with him both these incredible shows from the NWA. And if you haven't looked at the sit-down interview with Mickie James and Billy Corgan yet regarding, perspective and what Mickie hopes this show brings, I seriously recommend it. And that's really all I gotta say. So as always, I like to close. There are no winners, there are no losers, there are no bears, but just fans with opinions for this passion we all share. At the end of the day, folks, support one another, respect each other, just enjoy life, enjoy wrestling. Simple as that. With that being said, I thank you so much for tuning in and watching. What's your favorite thing to watch every week? What do you want me to cover or recap every week? And shout out to Ring of Honor's Women's Division 2 as the tournament continues. Again, Roxy, you are my pick to win. Don't fail me, Prodigy. Let me know your thoughts and comments down below. Please like, share, subscribe, comment, tell a friend, hit the bell notifications on this channel or on demand. And hit subscribe button, help me grow on this channel. Shout out to all 210 viewers with me on this fun YouTuber Gray's journey. It's not anytime soon. I'll also be back with Wrestling Revolver X probably this Friday for another Shoot Wrestling podcast. Stay tuned for more fun on that as well. Until next time, I'm the Simple Man Noah Foster. Just a simple man, life on fan pro wrestling. Hope you all take care, enjoy live. Tomorrow's never guaranteed. Treasure your families, enjoy wrestling, be a good person, and be kind. And if you can, explore wrestling and enjoy it. Because at the end of the day, shouldn't that be all we try to do? Because we're all just fans. Y'all take care, and thank you for tuning in once again to another ATW Spotlight.